Hey guys, and welcome to episode 60 of Football Manager 2015. So when you're here, I'm on my manager history, I suppose. We're on that page, and we're here for a new season, new club. If you have a look at the last episode, if you haven't seen it, I would advise you to see it. Well, do if you feel like it, but wasn't much to talk over really. Just that I got sacked at Everton now. So I've been sacked at Villa and now at Everton, both for the same thing as well. Both for exactly the same thing. Being kind of club morale issues. So Villa sacked me first. I thought that might have been a once-off. No, Everton sacked me as well. Just because Isaiah Brown wanted to leave. Really childish stuff. Anyway, that was in the 3rd of March 2023. So we kind of had the rest of the season to pan out. Now, I knew it was never going to really be an option, me getting back into the managerial game before the end of the season. So I wasn't really looking around, but there wasn't any to go for in the first place. But as per usual, at the end of the Premier League season, people were sacked and people were hired. And luckily enough, I did manage to pick myself up a job, still in the Premiership as well, which I'm quite excited about. And we're at Southampton. So, it's a bit of an odd one, this one, because I've actually gone to probably, if you'd asked me to pick 3 Premier League teams that I'd do a Football Manager series on, these would probably be the 3 of my top teams. You know, Villa, of course, because I support them, but Everton and Southampton, I really like Everton and Southampton. I think they're good teams. I think Southampton, it's great to see them doing so well this year. I'm going to hold my hands up now. I'm not really a fan of Ronald Koeman's attitude. He seems to be a bit cocky, but to be honest, all those Holland or Netherlands guys do seem to be. But him and Louis van Gaal seem to be two peas in a pod, really, despite them kind of hating each other. But they're doing a great job. They haven't really expressed it though in this year's game. In this save, I have to say. So it starts off here. 8th, 6th, 13th, up to 5th, which was their peak. 13th, 9th, 15th, 6th, 17th, and then 11th last year. But when I took over, I was surprised to find that the club was in desperate, and I mean desperate, financial issues. Due to, I think, people being paid just far too much money. It was a bit like the Everton situation all over again, with real guys who didn't deserve to be on the money they were on. And I've cleared a lot of them out, I have to say. I haven't brought in too many because we didn't really get any transfer budget when we started off with. So I had to sell to buy, and we only had 30% transfer revenue into transfer. So we've only brought in, I think, 2 players, but we've sold a shed load. So it's going to be quite lopsided, but I still am quite happy with our squad going into the new season. We've got a live commentary away at Charlton to start us off. So I might as well take you through the transfers before then showing you the remainder of the squad. As you can see, we've still got a fair chunk of change to use. If we have a look at the finances, they look quite rosy now with 8 million in the bank. And we've managed to boost up the transfer revenue to 75%. But I can tell you now, it wasn't like that. It was around this when we arrived. Yeah, that's around it. Kind of 20 million in debt, something around that. So we've done quite well to really turn it around. If we have a look at the transfers, there we go. As you can see, a shed load on the outs. 6.1 million coming in for the 2 players. So we did spend a bit on one player especially, but we did let go of 35 million's worth, which is an awful lot of money. And these were guys, not all of them I suppose were bad players, but I felt they were on too much money for the player they were. The first man to go was Marian Tokic. He was one of the more promising players actually, 24 years old, but he was only 3-star and he was on I think 70 grand a week with us. And when he's not overly good, I've done okay since arriving for 7 million, but we sold him off for 12.5 million, so you couldn't be you have to be pretty impressed with that, getting a 5.5 million profit. I think it was well worth it. Velasquez, not too shabby centre back, but we had him we've brought in a few centre-backs, and we didn't need him anymore. And I think, again, 2.7 million profit from his 2.3 million deal the previous year. Nathaniel Klein, who had stuck around for the whole thing, had left for 500k because he was on way too much money. Emir Hughes, who is quite promising, I think, on this year's game. He does start at... Does he start at City? I think he does start at City. But Wigan took him on. And then he went to us for 3.8 million last season, but we've sold him back to Wigan for 3.5 million because he wasn't going to find a spot in the team. And again, on the wages. Oguzhan, Cup, 30-year-old, 1 million to Hull. Old, not great. We've a fair amount of midfielders, so we didn't really need him. Nikos Padoulis, 6 million for this guy. I think it's actually a decent deal. He has decent finishing, but that seems to be around it. Again, quite hefty on the wages. We brought him in for 3.4 million 4 years ago, but really hasn't had any sort of goal-scoring record since. A fair amount of guys going out on frees. I won't talk you through them. Ivan Romeo actually left on a free. Now, this wasn't within my power. It had already been confirmed, which was a real disappointment because he looked a solid player, Italian, under-21 international. So I was a bit disappointed to see him go. Haris Seferovic, again another guy with decent enough finishing, but that seemed to be around it. Off the ball wasn't too bad, but 4.3 million for this guy I thought was a decent enough buy, or a decent enough sell, despite actually being bought for 8.25 million. So I suppose contrasting emotions there. And the rest were loans, including James Chalmers-Stevens, who seems to be the most promising of the lot. He's gone to Charlton on loan, so in the Premier League. Not bad. 22 years old though, so he'll need to kind of get a buck on soon. But anyway, we'll move on to the two guys coming in. And bloody hell, if in doubt, this series revolves around, if in doubt, sign Manfred Götze. 600k. We're just picking him up on steal after steal. And again, I wouldn't know. I don't think he'll probably even feature here at Southampton. He'll probably be the fourth choice centre back, and I think I plan on playing 3. As you can see, we bought him for Villa for 500k. Didn't quite make it at Villa. Didn't quite, although I always had him in plans. Bought him for Everton for 450k, and he actually featured a bit for me, to be fair, in those 2 seasons. But Everton weren't, the new manager at Everton wasn't having any of them, and we were able to pick him up for 600k, which I felt was very much on the cheap. 23 years old, still solid enough international, finally has got his first cap for Austria. So happy days all round there. A decent backup centre-back. And this guy's probably going to be a more first-team centre-back. Dario Escobar, who's been brought for 5.5 million from Lanús. So a fair chunk of change for this guy, but he does look worth it at 20 years old. And looks a very solid centre-back. Heading, marking and tackling. The core defensive... Well, definitely the core technical defensive attributes, all well up there. And he looks a solid enough player with extremely good potential, if you have a look at that. So, he's looking quite not too shabby whatsoever. And hopefully he'll progress. Only on 11k a week, which kind of helps out, considering we did bring him in for a fair chunk of money, considering how tight it's been. At least we kind of balanced it out with only 11k a week there, and only 18k a week, I think, for Manfred Götze, so quite small sums of money. If you have a look at our squad, though, a few familiar names. Fraser Forster's still here, 35 years old, still not a shabby keeper. He'll probably do the job for this year, although if I was to stay on for much longer, I'd be looking to get in a better replacement. Jed Steer is also here, of course, the Villa guy. He's somehow found his way here as a backup keeper. He's not actually too bad, though. If we have a look, if we sort it by actually ability, Emre Can, or Emre Can, I think it's how you pronounce it. 29 years old now. He joined from Liverpool a while back for 3.4 million. I remember at the time I was a bit disappointed that Villa couldn't get hold of him because he's an excellent centre mid and will do the job there. Can also play left back if we need him to, but I don't think we're going to be playing fullbacks. Well, that's what I'm thinking at the moment with this formation that I'm going to be testing out. It's a bit of an off-the-cuff one, I suppose. Next is Brian Rebello, who seems to be, I think, our best player. And, well, He's going to be a big player for us. 29 years old. He joined for 8 million from Cordoba after Cordoba had got him from Sevilla. So he's kind of done the round. He did quite well last year, 16 goals in 35 league games, but he looks an excellent player. And when you look at his pre-season, now I know I don't usually like to look into pre-season too much, but 11 goals and 8 assists in 6 games is not a shabby effort from Brian. And hopefully he can bang in the goals for us. Dario Escobar, you've seen him. Matthias Jorgensen, who's a defensive midfielder, can also play centre mid and centre back. And not a bad, a tidy young Denmark player. Bought him in for 3.6 million from Bromby last year. Had a solid season, first time of asking, and looks a decent enough player. Pano Armenicus, 25 years old. He's actually a real player, though. Brought from Udinese for 8 million. Has had 4 solid enough seasons at the club. Australian international as well, which is a bit of an odd one. Can play on the left, also behind the striker. Looks a quality player. Jerome Sinclair, real player, comes from the Liverpool Youth Academy, I think. Yeah. He found his way to Forest and then here for 10.5 million. He hasn't done awfully well since arriving, so hopefully this will be a breakthrough season for us. 2 caps for England for him. Jesse Lingard, another familiar face, 30 years old, quite old, on 60 grand a week as well, which is a bit too much for my liking. I'd prefer a lot less than that. And I'd probably be looking to get rid of him at some stage. Bruno Zuccolini, another familiar face, 30 years old. He's on a chunk of change as well, isn't he? 38.5 grand. It's quite a lot for a player of his ability, although he's probably a bit better than Lingard. These guys, Tider, don't know whether you'll know him. Inter, Napoli, AC Milan, and now us on this save. He's gone round the block. Timothy Fosu-Mensah, 25 years old, is going to be a starting centre-back, doesn't look too bad, Ghana international. Kyriakos Papadopoulos, bit of a big-name player. Not quite has it in him anymore at 31 years old. Andre Wisdom, a 30-year-old Andre Wisdom, still doing well. Max Dunn, one of our better young prospects. You might be thinking, as we're at Southampton, surely there are bright young prospects, and there are a few, not as many as I thought there may be. Max Dunn is one of them, though. As attacking centre mid, can also play behind the striker. We'll look to optimise him as much as we can, although I don't think we're playing an attacking mid centre, so we might just have to make appearances off the bench or possibly start up front a few times. Craig Dawson and Harrison Reid. Harrison Reid actually starts at the club. He's turned into a half-decent central midfielder, and Craig Dawson is getting well on now, 33 years old, but he's going to be back up. Jed Steer, I've already showed you. Tim Freeman, one of the other really bright prospect, 19-year-old defensive midfielder, can also play centre mid. Looks a rock solid player, and actually looks like he could play centre back, to be honest. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me that he can kind of play there, and I think we should start training him there so he can be a little bit more versatile. Shane Ciardini, an English player, despite the name. Centre back, can also play right and left back and defensive mid. Quite a versatile 20-year-old, looks a good prospect. And is that it? Manfred Götze there. So that is it for the team. When we look at pre-season, and this is with a new tactic that I'll show you in a second, it's been quite eventful. We beat the under-21s 5-3, beat Gil Vicente 4-0, beat Portimonense 4-0, beat Eastleigh 10-0, drew 3-3 with Exeter, and beat Emeji Blues 4-0. So an awful lot of goals going in. We'll have to see how we do against Charlton. We've got a tough enough start though. We've got Mansfield in the cup, which isn't too bad, but then Spurs, Villa, Arsenal and Chelsea all in a row, which is a bit of a shocker if you're asking me. Tactically, now which one's the tactics screen? Is it this one? I think it is. This is what we're going for, and it is an odd one, I'll give you that. It's a 3-1-4-2. We've got 3 centre backs, and actually I'm going to make a few changes even to this starting 11. So 4-string goal, we've got the back 3 of Fosu-Mensah, Escobar and Andre Wisdom. Jorgensen as an anchor man, Zuccolini as a box-to-box, and Emre Can as an advanced playmaker, which is apparently his best role, which I find hard to believe considering he's really a defensive midfielder in real life for Liverpool. Armenicas and Lingard on the wings, with Sinclair as a complete forward support and Rebello as a poacher. Control, we've got a few instructions. If you want to look into that a little more, pause the video now. Looking to play a bit more higher tempos. We're going to go into today's game. As you can see there, though, from the tactics screen, not exactly competent just yet. Just about competent, but that's around it. Got it. No, sorry, they're not playing the same formation. They're playing a 4-1-4-1. It looks like. And we're going to get into today's game here at the Valley. They haven't changed their ground just yet. James Wilson is out, which is probably a decent for us, because he seems to score a lot against me, no matter what team I'm at. So I'll tell the guys to enjoy themselves. It is the first game of the season, so we want a decent enough performance. We'll have to see how the tactic fares. Of course, pre-season, as I said before, well, I don't like to look too much into it. Even though I do take pre-season, I feel it can always give you a little bit of false hope. But then again, it can be quite good in some occasions. As Pidolas is playing for them, the guy we sold to them for 6 million. I think the Greek international. There's Armenicas, and that is a terrible ball into the middle, and Matic sweeps up. But because of them only having one up front, they're quite outnumbered by our 3 centre backs. And here's Jerome Sinclair, Brian Rebello. That's a terrible effort from Rebello. But here's Rebello. Can he make up for it? Good ball in. Sinclair! 1-0. And it will count as well. There's no chance of Jerome Sinclair being offside. It's 9th of the season, and we convert. Or his 9th of the season. His first of the season in the 9th minute. And out of we've got 2 clear-cut chances early on, and we were able to convert one of them, which is quite pleasing. Brian Rebello just whips a little, well, no, not whips, but just dinks a little one in, and Jerome Sinclair comes in, clearly onside, and just slots it home unmarked. An easy finish for him, really. I'd be expecting him to finish it, and he went and did so. Looking at a few of the faces on this Charlton team, it does look like they're quite an old codger team. But here's Kent. I don't know where Fraser Forster was going, because Kent pretty much had an open goal there to shoot at, but missed it still. Which doesn't really make much sense. But anyway, Zuccolini now. We do look threatening, attacking wise, but then again we do look a little bit dicey just on that counter attack. Zuccolini though, but here's Brian Rebello. Brian Rebello's cutting inside, finds Jerome Sinclair, and it's a good block. It's apparently another clear-cut chance, though. So 3 clear-cut chances after 15 minutes. We've only managed to convert one of them. They've had one themselves, which they've missed. Nikos Pedoulis doesn't have a very good game against his former employers, getting injured after just 28 minutes. That's not great for him. Forster now, though. Be looking for Sinclair. Joe Gomez seems to come in ahead of him. Sabo. Escobar with a good tackle. Doesn't win the second ball, though. João Moutinho. Inside to Matt. Jorgensen cuts that out really quite easily. Rebello now. Jerome Sinclair. Lingard should be on his bike. He wasn't really. It was a good ball by Sinclair to find him, but Lingard should have been pushing up the field a little bit more, I would have thought. Wisdom. Oh no, that is... Oh, Kent, that's poor play. And Brian Rebello could capitalise possibly. Zuccolini, Emre Can into Sinclair. 2-0! That's a finish from Jerome Sinclair. And after 2 underperforming years at the Saints, maybe it's time for Jerome Sinclair to finally put his stamp here at St. Mary's. Chan feeds him in the ball, and it looks like it's going nowhere here, but a stunning finish on the turn. Hit at such power, and there was no chance for the keeper, Pickford, who's still there. From what I'm seeing, this Charlton team does seem to be very old, though. People like Matic and João Moutinho in the middle of the park, Jordan Cousins still going, Pickford, like they're cracking out a lot of these still like players who start the game off. You know, Jordan Cousins probably is only 29-30 because he starts off at around 20 years old. Is that Todd Kane? Probably is. But here's João Moutinho. They've got... Oh, that's a terrible goal conceded. George Fowler is flicked it on, and it's a goal straight after half time, which is exactly not when we wanted to concede. He outjumps, I don't know who that is at the front post, or Medikas, it seems. And they get one back now, so it's 2-1. It's immediately game back on here, despite us giving ourselves a 2-goal cushion there near the end of the first half. We've kind of spurned that. We've spurned a lot of our hard work by giving away that early goal from the set piece. Here's Lingard, finds Emre Can, Brian Rebeo with Bruno Zuccolini now. Back inside Brian Rebeo, and that is not a great finish from Rebeo, who, considering, as I outlined before the game, 11 goals and 8 assists in pre-season. God, he doesn't look like he's going to score a goal in a fit here for us when it comes to the business end of things. And we're going to actually take him off, bring on the youngster Max Dunn. We're also going to bring on Urbanek for Armenikas. That's why I don't really look into pre-season sometimes, because that sometimes can happen with somebody like Brian Rebeu, who looks like the world is at his fingertips in pre-season, and then actually plays in the league and can't finish anything. Escobar, thank goodness he won that. Emre Can, Lingard. Oh, he's sold him short here. Jerome Sinclair for a hat-trick. Misses it. Max Dunn cannot miss. The youngster scores on his debut. The youngster gets a tap in. Jerome Sinclair, very good of him. He misses the initial chance, Sinclair, but it comes straight back to him and unselfishly rolls it across. And really, Max Dunn could not miss. And he does the right thing. He just keeps it low, keeps it in the middle of the goal, does the right things, and he scores on his debut and has given us that 2-goal cushion once again to sit on. And it looks like it's going to be a winning start here at St Mary's. We've nobody to bring on for Bruno or for Jerome Sinclair. That's a bit annoying. I'm going to bring off Bruno Zuccolini and bring on Tim Freeman. Give him 6 or 7 minutes on the pitch. Might as well. Bring the youngster on now. Give him a bit of first team action. Oh God, I hope we don't concede now though, because I know it'd get a bit dicey. Todd Kane. Carozo. Inside. Todd Kane. Oh, Fosu Menza gets it away. Max Dunn. Oh, are we going to break here? Jerome Sinclair, who's been really on fire today. 2 goals and an assist for him in this 3-1 win. And he's again causing havoc, but Jordan Cousins this time manages to get back. Tim Freeman tries to get a foot in, doesn't quite come off from Appleyard. Kent, chance possibly. No, good block. And Urbanek manages to clear to safety, but straight to Cousins. And it's Chris Solly next, because Solly's still there. Bloody hell, how are Charlton still in this league? They've got an average age of around 50. Max Dunn gets a talking to. I'd like this game to just drift out. Yeah, as it seemingly is doing. And there you go, full time here at the Valley. And it's an excellent win to start off my career here with Southampton. Which, you can't really say. I was progressing Villa into an excellent team. I was really disappointed at Everton, though. I'd say Everton was actually more of a kick in the teeth than Villa, because I really started to put together a stunning team at Everton. But I'll just show you this before I go. This happened. Everton sold Carlos Soto. Okay, the Mexican magician. So I'm thinking, okay, if they sell him to Man U, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. They sold him for 19.5 million. Bloody hell, I wouldn't have sold him for... Well, probably would have sold him for 30. But look at that. That is so much more than a 19 million player. Man U must be counting their lucky charms, to be honest. Amaral, who I had arranged to come in, he seems to have come in and seems to be their key player now, the left back. God, he looks a tasty signing. And Alexandre. I didn't show you guys this guy, but I'd confirmed to sign him just before I got sacked, actually. Looked a promising striker, 22 years old, from Brazil. Brought him from Tigre in Mexico. But anyway, we've got to forget that because we're now at Southampton and the Super Saints win their first game away at the Valley. If we have a look at our next live commentary, it will be at home to Chelsea. I'm going to throw ourselves in the deep end. We do have that tricky phase coming up though. So it's really hitting us hard, this opening to the season. And also we've got City and Liverpool quite soon after that. But then it starts to ease out a little bit. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed this video, please do give it a like, especially for the new team. And subscribe to the channel if you already haven't. I'll see you guys later.